Welcome to the KIMIYA Healing Podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about the events that are happening in the world around us, how we experience them and how we can actually use them to catalyze our own healing and inner growth. So at the moment we are existing in such contrast and polarity. We are noticing the world around us becoming ever more turbulent or seemingly turbulent, and perhaps a impression of deeper separation emerging. And lots of you have been emailing and contacting me saying that you're really trying to stay in your ground, you're really trying to acknowledge the differences of opinions that you have, often with regards to even your close family members and friends, and how that's been affecting you, and noticing how social media is also perpetuating and affecting that sense of separation. Now, I've been through my own journey of real resistance to what's going on right now, and particularly with regards to the lockdowns and forced vaccinations in certain countries for specific age groups and types of people, and also how it feels like we are leaning here in the UK towards a very deep divide between people who have chosen to vaccinate themselves for whatever personal reasons they have and those who haven't. And what I find really powerful about the time that we're living in, and my own personal journey of moving through those levels of emotional upheaval and wanting to really speak my truth about what I believe, is when I decided that actually I would just sit with it, and instead of trying to convince anybody and trying to vocalize my specific views, I instead, noticing how that actually only brought me more discontent and frustration and cynicism about the world and about humanity, I actually thought, I wonder whether this is the wrong approach and whether I can try something different. So in the last few weeks, I've really been instead taking all of those sensations, emotions, belief systems, etc., and laying them out on the table in front of me. So instead of projecting them out into the world and into other people, I've really just been trying to lay the table with what I believe and what I feel is right for me, and what I am also resisting. And when I lay it all out on the table, what happens is I've noticed that I've been able to get closer to these feelings, closer to these senses and vibrations. And when I've been doing that, I notice it's actually not as much about the outside world as it is about myself. And noticing that externalizing it was bringing me more frustration and resistance, and I don't really want to experience that in my life repeatedly, I decided to really embrace that as part of my healing. So bringing in myself to the table to decide, what am I actually consuming? So I feel all of these things, and I believe these certain belief systems, and I have these ideologies perhaps about the world, about what is good for the world, what is not so good for the world. And all of these belief systems make me in a way. They make my ego self and allow me to express myself. So instead of trying to share that with other people, what would happen if I actually tried to consume that myself? What would happen if I tried to consume my own belief systems and my own feelings, my own frequencies that I've laid out on this table? So arriving at the table and sensing into it, I started to recognize, what do I actually want to consume from this table? Do I want to consume anger, resistance, and disappointment? Do I want to consume confusion and fear? Or do I want to consume peace and awareness and understanding and compassion? And can I bring that in to my feast and allow myself to indulge and be nourished by that? So this is not only about connecting to higher vibrations and bypassing what's going on in the world and what we really believe, but on a deeper level, recognizing that we are experiencing part of the whole. And when I was able to finally let myself accept that actually I want to experience my own vitality, my own nourishment, my own peace, and that would require me to not necessarily change what I believe, but accept that what I believe is my choice and how it makes me feel is also my choice. And I can't take that responsibility on for other people. I can't invite them to change what they believe when it's their choice what they are consuming and how they are choosing to nourish themselves and their nervous systems. So what I'm trying to say is moving beyond the duality, moving beyond the field of right and the field of wrong and what is right and what is good and what is wrong and evil, and actually going into a space of I am all of that. I am everything that I believe is right and virtuous and beautiful and natural and miraculous. And I'm also all that I believe is wrong and dangerous, etc., etc. When I sat in that place at my table, I really started to understand and feel a bit more of the whole. And at a time like now, it seems very important to be able to allow ourselves to feel the whole, because we are existing in a surface level of deep separation, and that can be very isolating. And quite a few of you have reached out to tell me that you are feeling particularly isolated, particularly from loved ones who have different views. And if we think about it, that is a very powerful way that humans can become separated and feel alone and feel isolated and become very confused and fearful, not just about the world, but also within themselves. So I really started to recognize that what I resist consistently is also what I'm moving close to absorbing. So how do we dissolve and heal the resistance within ourselves so we can allow ourselves to flow more openly and more compassionately? Allowing myself to bring a non-dual perspective, which hasn't been easy, but a non-dual perspective as in what I see on the outside world reflects what I feel on the inside world. And beyond right and wrong, we are existing in a big vacuum, a big mystery. We are inherently dancing in this vacuum together, and we're creating this world that we see outside ourselves. We may feel like certain authorities or powers have set out to create separation. And in some way that might be true. That might be a conscious intention. However, if we keep buying into that belief system, what we're doing ourselves is perhaps also creating a deep separation, because we're actually buying into that. And behind all of these veils, behind all of these movements, there is a uniting that's happening at a much, much deeper level than the physical level. There is a unity, a frequency of collective unity. Some people call this unity consciousness. And when we are still, when we are perhaps in a deeper state of meditation, or we're feeling a little bit more at ease with ourselves and our bodies, that's when really we can start to recognize at a felt sense level the stillness that does exist. At the moment, you might only catch it in glimpses. You might only catch it when you're, for example, in the group healing space or in your own personal meditation. But that doesn't mean that it's not always there available for you. And allowing yourself to be nourished energetically, i.e. for your system to become still, it will help you to feel more resourced in a world where there is lots of waves, lots of tides, turbulence, all of which affects our frequency and our thought processes. So the more we are focusing on the movement, the more we will move. And right now, the world events and the collective consciousness is almost designing a movement pattern, is designed to move us. And we humans have to be moved. We have to be moved into uncomfortable territory. We have to be moved by the tides in order to recognize the ocean exists within us. And choosing where we place ourselves, choosing what we feel within that spectrum will allow us to really establish more safety, security, stability, self-belief, etc. within ourselves. And you will know the importance of that, especially at a time like now, being able to feel that level of resourcing within yourself. So, accepting that there are different views in the world, that the people who you love the most will have different opinions and will inherently be choosing a different path. At a surface level, it appears that they're choosing a different path. And you don't have to get on board with that path. You don't have to accept that for yourself. You are only available in as much as you can accept your own path. That's when you will start to become more available to yourself. That's when your intuition, your higher self, will start to really emanate through you. And when that happens consistently, you'll find yourself less affected and less disturbed by what is happening around you. It doesn't mean that you don't care. It doesn't mean that you don't want to support or you don't want to express yourself. But it means that you express yourself differently and that you can support people around you in a different way and in a way that doesn't affect your nervous system and get you really riled up or worried or frustrated by what you're experiencing and seeing others experience. So this is a classic process of having to identify to disidentify. We have to identify with the movement at a very deep level in order to want to and be able to be so saturated by that, recognize actually this is not taking me anywhere new, this is not really allowing me full mind, body, spirit harmonization, is keeping me in a bandwidth. And for many people that bandwidth feels like a safe container. So they will keep seeking to play in those spaces. They will keep seeking the righteous rage that comes with holding a particular belief or viewpoint at a certain point in time. And there's nothing wrong with that, but the question that I have been asking myself, and the question that I invite you to ask yourself, is how does it make you feel? So it's a really simple question. How does holding that belief system make you feel within yourself, with regards to other people, and with regards to the world? Because you might be right, you might be 100% spot on, but if it is making you feel more deeply separated from the whole, which you exist to be, and exist to be able to hold with love and with compassion, then it's showing you an aspect or a fragment of what you could have. So right now, the call seems to be for those who are really seeking a deeper peace and harmony and healing. The call is to allow yourself to be moved by the tides, take them inside yourself and recognize, how does this exist within me? How do these polarities, these resistances, how does this fear, how does the frustration, how does this maybe feeling of being trapped or caged, unable to move, how does what I see in the world outside me actually also live within me? This is how you can use the outside world to help you meet and heal what you're holding at an unconscious level. And until you start consciously asking yourself these questions, until you start consciously letting yourself bring up to the surface what exists beneath you and within you, that's when you can really start to heal, and it stops becoming about the outside world. It starts becoming more about you, and then you will get to the point where you recognize how everything that's happening is so deeply in service of your shadow, so deeply in service of your unconscious material, and it is so powerful and potent right now, it's almost inescapable. And if you think about what healing actually is, the light of awareness that moves through our shadow and that helps us to make the unconscious more conscious, really that's what is happening right now on a global scale. If you can find one particular process, so for example, how do I create separation in my own life, in my own mind, body, spirit experience, or in my relationships, or for example, where does fear and health-related fears, how do I hold those within myself, within my body, and what can I do to meet them within me? Chances are you'll become so consumed by what you're being allowed to see and allowing yourself to see, and what you're therefore allowing yourself to heal, you will change, you will grow, and you will heal that. And then you will want to repeat that process. You will want to internalize more, but in a safe, healing way. You will want to understand how these external movements and tides and triggers are pointing towards you and your inner work. And it's only when you actually start doing the inner work and reaping the rewards of it, because there are always treasures, that's when you will really feel the appreciation for everything that's happening right now, that humanity at some collective unconscious level has chosen to move through and to create. And I really do believe that we don't create without destroying, and we don't destroy without creating. And recognizing that cycle of rebirth, that constant, unending rebirthing that is happening in every single moment, it will show you the fluidic nature and the open flow that you have. It will show you that in every single moment you can move through so many different identities, you can move through so many different belief systems. When you start to do that consistently, you'll recognize you don't have the self-limits and the limitations that you previously believed you do have. And then you become limitless. You become embodied in your vast, open, true essence and your higher self. And right now, you're getting a huge opportunity, we all are, to embody our higher selves by finding stillness in the movement, by using the external events to internalize and recognize how we are holding these same frequencies, and to release them. When we release them and move into a new identity, take on a higher frequency, we start to be able to share that with other people, share that with the world, and in turn, we create a different world. And this is the process that's happening right now. It's a catalyst for the emergence of a world that is much higher frequency, where people have more and deeper self-awareness and are capable of holding more. And what does that mean except to be able to hold more of the duality and remain in your stillness, in your center, and not be swung too far in either direction. So I hope that that's helped. And if you've got any questions about what I've talked about, feel free to just drop me an email. You all have my website, KIMIYAhealing.co.uk.